This is Monday, April 25th. It's a week after Easter. And on Easter, I saw Jessica's mom, Lynn. Jessica's my daughter-in-law. Lynn had some Hexies that she had hand-stitched when Jessica was a baby. And it's kind of like a memory quilt because it has fabrics that she had on hand or that she used for garments, you know, like maternity clothes or baby clothes. And she just made a number of Hexies and put them together. And this is it. I mean, it's not exactly symmetrical, but it doesn't have to be. She just asked me, could I do something with them? So the first thing I did, let me give you a peek at them. There they are. Well, you can't see the whole thing right now. I just brought it upstairs. I put it on my, I brought it downstairs and I pressed it all and starched it. I'm still going to be pushing out some of the wrinkles as I stitch. I'm going to stitch it down to a piece of batting. I put it on a piece of batting. I'm going to stitch it down to the batting, taking out as many of the little bumps as I can along the way. And we're going to go from there to put it together into something of a, maybe a square lap Afghan or wall hanging or something, and I'll let you know how it goes as we go along. I'm just going to secure it now with the machine onto the batting. But my plan is to put it on another piece of cotton, sort of square it up, not square this up, but square the piece up. Maybe put a border, put some more batting, backing, and binding. So that's the story of this little Hexie project. I'll keep you informed as I move along. Okay, step 2. Now I'm trying to think back to what I told you in step 1. I don't know if I told you that I spray basted these Hexies down to this very thin 100% cotton batting. Yes, I spray basted it in spots just to keep it down so that I could maneuver it around the sewing machine. You can see that they're not all stitched down like quilted. They will be later. All I've done is attach the edges so that I can cut very close to the edge. You see, I'm cutting very close to the edge so that the batting will not show. And my intention, when I get this onto the top of the quilt, this is going to have a top, a middle of batting, and a bottom. And I'm going to attach this to the top. And what I will do is blanket stitch this down. So it'll be held down so that none of this batting is going to show. But I just needed something to give this a little more stability. And then after it's all blanket stitched down to the top, I'll make the quilt sandwich, put it on my long arm, and then I'll do the quilting throughout. So that's step 2. Here I go. Okay, so here we are. Ooh, do I have a picture? There we are. Back downstairs. Here are the Hexies, all backed with some very thin cotton batting. Now I've since gone to Joann's, and I didn't have a big enough piece of fabric to be able to put those Hexies on. If you can see, I've got a white on white, but it's not bright white. I think it's going to look good with these fabrics. It's just come out of the dryer because these fabrics have been washed and dried before. This is like memories. So these have been at least washed at least once. So I want to make sure that the pieces that I put together for the rest of this are not going to shrink up, because these aren't going to shrink. I don't want the backing fabrics to shrink. So everything will get washed before I add it to these Hexies. I also got kind of I got a polyfill extra loft because it'll give it a thicker look with the quilting. I think it'll look nice for this project. And also because these have a small layer under it already, it might give it a look of trapunto when I secure the quilting down on these over the backing fabric and the batting and the fabric for the backing, which I'm not sure what I'm using yet. I also got a piece of this fabric, which to me looked like 30s fabric. It looks like this fabric could kind of blend in case I need a binding. I'm not quite sure how I'm doing this yet to make it look right. I was just going to lay it on a piece of fabric and top stitch it and quilt it, but might not quite look right. I might need a binding. No, excuse me, a border. If I need a border, that's if I make, I don't know. I'm still undecided as to whether or not it's going to have a sort of rectangle shape or if it's going to actually be one big hexie, because I could put sections to finish it off too. That's what I'm working on that in my head right now. So this is the step we're on. I've got to get all that backing fabric pressed. See you on next step. Next step, we've got this all cut out and I've pressed it again. You can see it does have the backing. It has the backing on it now. There are some little puckers here and there that I've tried to stitch and press out. Like if you'll notice. I don't know if you can even see it on the camera. Just little tiny things that I tried to press out, which after the quilting's done, I'm almost positive that those will not be there. Then I went to Joann's and I got some white on white. I don't know if you can see that there's a design, but it reads as white. White fabric. I got 4 yards. It was on sale, so it did well, because it's usually like $10 a yard. I think it was 40% off. No, it's a little less than 25% off. 25% off for this particular quilting cotton. So bought 4 yards, cut it in half, well, almost in half. Stitched it together because I needed more than 44 inches across. I only needed about, you can see the seam is here, I only need about this much more. This will be excess, but I'm going to try to work that into the backing. So now I'm going to place it on here some way and do the blanket stitch around the edges. Then I think I'm going to stick it all on the long arm and quilt it. We'll see if that's indeed what happens. Okay, so here's a little bit of catch-up. Not catch-up. I should say catch-up, not ketchup. Previously you saw that we backed the Hexies with, let's go this way. We backed the Hexies with some 100% cotton batting. And now I'm using a polyester fluffy kind of batting in between the quilt top and the quilt backing. This outside border is what I am using for the backing of the quilt. You can see it's on the frame. There's my quilt machine. There's my machine. Let's put it this way. It's the first time I quilt a machine in this new orientation of being able to look out onto my sewing room. So there's the quilt. So now my goal is to keep it nice and straight on the frame and get it quilted. I'm doing free motion quilting, just guiding it by hand. I can show you that. But here's, you can see, here's the beginning row. I just did 1 row of quilting. I'm doing 11 stitches per inch, and that's actually a pearl gray color. It's pearl gray. White looked too white, so I went with pearl gray, and the bottom is almost like it's a very, very light pearl, and it almost looks invisible. So the backing, I don't know what the backing's going to end up looking like. Once it starts coming around the back, I'll show you that. But, yeah, just getting started. I want to get this thing moving. Once I start, I like to keep going so that I can do it all in the same day, within the same time frame, because then I keep my stitches and my pattern even. If I go away and come back, who knows what'll happen. It's hard to get back in the same groove, because even though I do this stitch a lot, it never comes out the same. And we'll go from there. So here we are, second to the last step. After it's quilted, it'll have to be bound, and then it'll be done. Okay. Phew, well, there it is, done. It's kind of an awkward angle. Let me see if I can, and the light's right over it, so I've got a lot of glare, don't I? Let me show it to you. There it is. Quilting's done. I just did my usual teardrops and fills and whatever. Let's show it to you from far away. Let's see. There it is. I have to figure out a border, a binding now. But as I said, the backing is the same. Backing is the same as the border that I put on the front. These are sequins. Can you see? They're sequins. They're not real sequins, they're cotton, but they're sequins. Alright, if I do this, will the whole fall off? No, it didn't fall off. Okay. So there it is. There you have it. Now it needs to get trimmed up, squared up, and bound, and it'll be done. Okay.